Yeah, and she said Bruce TV was whack, and I was like, what? Oh snap! Let me call you back. I forgot. I gotta record today. Let me call you back. So sorry. Whew. Hey guys, welcome to MedVise TV, where pharmacists like myself give you the information you need to better manage your health and medications. Today's topic: sunscreen. Here's what you need for you and your family to stay protected while having fun in the sun. First, let's start by going over what is SPF anyway. SPF is the sun protectant factor, which is basically a fancy number that just determines how well you're being protected from the sun. Usually SPF 15 to 30 is just enough of protection of what you'll need, especially if you're going to be reapplying. There hasn't really been many studies to show that SPF 50 or above is going to have added benefit over using SPF 30. Make sure somewhere in your bottle though it says the words broad spectrum coverage. This assures that your skin is going to be both protected from being burnt and from increasing your risk of cancer. But when do you even apply sunscreen? Usually it's best to apply 15 minutes before your exposure to the sun, and then again every 2 hours after exposure. But you might need to go a little bit more frequently than 2 hours, maybe like every hour if you're out swimming or in the beach. Won't my sunscreen wash off when I go out and I start sweating or I go to the pool, lake, or the beach? Yes, all sunscreens wear off with water. Sunscreens used to say waterproof on the bottle, but the FDA recently changed that because it was a little bit misleading. Now sunscreens will read water resistant instead. But regardless of what it says on the bottle, you need to make sure if you're sweating or you're out swimming, you need to reapply a little bit more often than if you're not. What about babies? Are they getting sunscreen? Yes, they are. However, 6 months and under, you definitely want to make sure you keep them in the shade. But if you are going to use a product on them, make sure it's zinc oxide or titanium oxide. Most of these sunscreens indicated for babies are going to have those as their active ingredient. But just double check, turn that bottle around and make sure that active ingredient will say either zinc oxide or titanium oxide. But all these sunscreens are different types. There's lotions, there's creams. Which one's best for me? Well, creams are usually the best for the face, gels are usually really good for hairy areas, and sticks are great for around the eyes or like as a lip balm. The sprays are actually really convenient, but you have to be extremely careful in applying a spray sunscreen, as it shouldn't be inhaled. So if someone's like next to you when you're spraying, or if they're downwind of that spray, you really want to make sure they're not getting exposed to inhaling that sunscreen. But in general, it doesn't really matter. Just use what's best for you. What's the most convenient for you, just make sure you're protected. If you're concerned about using a sunscreen with a mosquito repellent, they actually have products that are a 2-in-1 combo that have a sunscreen and mosquito repellent. However, I don't usually recommend these because you'll need to apply sunscreen a little bit more often than the mosquito repellent. So when you're going to apply these products, first I would apply the sunscreen and then the mosquito repellent about 30 minutes later. Did you know that there are some medications that can actually make you more sensitive to the sun? Well, you do now, and it's called photosensitivity. Photosensitivity is actually listed as a side effect for over 100 different medications. When the side effect occurs, it usually results in a pretty bad rash that could get itchy or even form blisters. And it's usually only on areas exposed to the sun. So if you're on one of these medications, make sure, you should be covered with sunscreen anyway, but especially if you're taking a medication that has a side effect of photosensitivity, you really want to make sure you're protecting yourself from the sun. I'm going to include in the link below of our YouTube channel a link to show you the list of drugs or the commonly most used drugs that cause photosensitivity. So the best way to prevent photosensitivity from happening if you're taking one of these medications is avoiding the sun. But if you can't avoid the sun and you need to go out there, make sure you're being protected by sunscreen. Sometimes even taking the medication at nighttime, if it's only dosed once daily. If you take it at nighttime, it actually can reduce your risk of exposure to the sun and reduce your risk of that side effect happening. As always, do not start or change the way you take any medications without first talking to your pharmacist or your healthcare provider. I hope I answered a lot of questions that you may have had in applying sunscreen. If you have any questions or concerns or you want to reach out to me, please send me an email at richard@medvise.com. I'm going to include a video around here if you did get a sunburn, what to do and how to treat it. Don't forget to subscribe. Somewhere around here a button should pop up. Thanks for watching. Take care.